Okay, good morning all. This is the Kubernetes community meeting. Today is Thursday, October 13th, and we have a demo from the Intel team on node feature discovery by Balaji and Connor this morning, and then we will go on to the rest of our meeting. So Balaji, please introduce yourself and let us know what you're going to be talking about.
Sure. Let me start sharing my screen. Can you see the slides?
We can, thank you.
All right. And I'm changing to full screen and you can see that too?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So this demo is going to be on node feature discovery. It's a Kubernetes incubator project. I'm Balaji. So me and Connor are the main contributors to this project, and we are both from Intel. You can go to our GitHub page and look at the project if you want. So first off, I will start with what did we do in this project. So it is a software project which discovers the hardware features and configuration on the Kubernetes node, and it exposes these hardware feature and configuration for workload scheduling. So why did we do this? All nodes in a Kubernetes cluster are the same. The heterogeneity can stem from the hardware features as well as the platform configuration. We wanted to enable users to express preference for certain types of nodes or certain types of configuration in their job submissions. And through that, we want to improve the efficiency in terms of performance and also reduce performance variability of applications. So how does it work? You will basically deploy a container in each of the Kubernetes node. The container discovers certain set of hardware features and configuration, and adds labels for each of these features as node labels for each of these features and configuration. So this is a look at the CLI. We have certain options you can use with the discovery software. For example, you can look at the version of the discovery software, the sources, feature sources from which we are advertising the labels, and also you can use a dry run mode where you can take a look at what are the features that are being and the platform configuration that are being discovered and not publish them as labels. In these node labels, so we encode certain pieces of information. The first one we encode is a namespace to denote which vendor or provider is providing this feature. For example, it could be node.alpha.intel.com. And then the version of the discovery code. Currently, we auto-version the discovery code using the command that is displayed in the slide. And it also encodes the source, the feature source of the feature. For example, it could be CPU ID, and finally it encodes the feature itself. So it could be, for example, the hardware feature AESNI. Currently, we only advertise the node features that are available on the node. So the only value to a label could be true. So how does it really work? Take, for example, this setup where three nodes in the Kubernetes cluster are on the host one. The API server, the scheduler is also running. So what you would do is you would create a discovery job. The discovery pod lands on all of these nodes. It figures out what are the hardware features and configuration available in each node. It contacts the API server and decorates each of the hosts with the available node features and platform configuration. So To illustrate this, I'll go to an ASCII cast. Here, so this is a ASCII cast which shows an illustration of how you can run these the discovery pod. So first thing I'll show here is the setup. So the same thing, we have 3 nodes, node 1, node 2, and node 3 in the cluster. For a start, we can look at what are the labels that are already available for each of these nodes. So there are 3 set of labels available for each of these nodes. So I'm just getting the I'm just displaying the labels associated with each of the nodes here. And I'm also showing if any pod is running in the cluster, none of it is running. We can deploy the discovery pods in each of the nodes using a simple script that is available in the GitHub repo. So as you can see, containers have started on each of the node in the cluster. So node 1, node 2, and node 3. So when the container finishes, you will see that it decorates the nodes with the hardware features and the platform configuration available on each of those nodes. So you can see that it has decorated the node with a set of features. So to reiterate or to recap what we encode in the label, we have the namespace here, the version of the discovery code, the feature source, and finally the feature itself. So this feature is available in this node. So we have a value of true for that feature. So coming back to the slides. So now we have deployed the discovery pod, and we have decorated the nodes with the labels of hardware features and configuration. But what is the benefit of using node feature discovery? So in order to show an example, we chose the example feature of Turbo Boost. So what we'll do here, we'll take 2 applications which benefit, and one of the applications will benefit from Turbo Boost, the other won't benefit from Turbo Boost, and we can use this the labels used by the node feature discovery to look at or to run the applications in an efficient fashion. So the first example is affinity to the feature. The setup is the same. So it's 3 hosts, but I've intentionally disabled Turbo Boost in one of the nodes. So what this means is the 3 hosts are identical in terms of hardware feature except for Turbo Boost. So only one of the nodes have Turbo Boost enabled. For the first example here, I'm running a benchmark from Parsec benchmark suite. It does an image similarity search. So the methodology used here is we run the benchmark 10 times with and without affinity Turbo Boost, and the hypothesis is that 2/3 of the time the pods will land on a node without Turbo Boost, without expressing affinity, and in those cases we'll see lesser performance as well as higher performance variability. So this is just an example of how to express affinity to a feature. So you can see the block part here where I use the pstate turbo feature as the node selector. So just to recap, so we'll create a pod without affinity, and it can land on all the 3 hosts. But when I create a pod with affinity, it will land on only one host where the Turbo Boost is enabled. This is again the experimental setup. So this is a box plot of the performance. On the y-axis, you see percentage of variation in normalized execution time, where 0 is the best performing instance of the pod. So on the left-hand side, where it says with discovery is when you use affinity to the turbo boost feature, and on the right-hand side is without discovery, where it is without affinity. So you can see that not only does the performance of the application improve, but there is also less variability in performance. The next example I want to show you is anti-affinity to a feature. It's the exact same setup and the exact same methodology where we run the benchmark 10 times with and without anti-affinity. The benchmark used in this case is Cloverleaf. The Mantivo benchmark suite, it's a mini app which solves hydrodynamic equation. So the hypothesis here is that 1/3 of the time the pod will land on a node with turbo boost without expressing anti-affinity, and in those cases we'll see a less performant application, as well as there might be more variability in performance. This is again an example of how to express anti-affinity to a feature in Kubernetes. So you can express anti-affinity using node affinity feature. This is just to recap the experimental setup. So without affinity, the pod can land, the benchmark pod can land on any of the 3 hosts. But with anti-affinity, it will land only on host 2 and host 3, where the turbo boost is not enabled. So again, like we run the benchmark 10 times with and without anti-affinity, and we show the performance here again. So it's a similar plot where the y-axis shows the percentage variability in normalized execution time, and on the left-hand side of the plot is where we use anti-affinity to a feature, and the right-hand side is without anti-affinity to a feature. You can see that there are some performance improvement as well as reduction in performance variability. So in the example case, we only saw the affinity and anti-affinity to a feature that is turbo boost, but we also expose other features using our discovery software. You can look at the set of features that we expose by going to our GitHub repo. And finally, like we would like to welcome contributions. You can create an issue by going to our GitHub page, and you can also submit a PR. You can add a new source. Internally, the sources are implemented. So the feature sources implement an interface. The additional sources can be added by implementing the same interface. And you can also contact us. So my GitHub handle is Balaji S. Maniam, and Connor Doyle's GitHub handle is Connor Doyle, and you can get in touch with us via the Slack or the various set of mailing lists available.
Thanks so much, Balaji. We had a few questions, which I think Connor has, for the most part, answered in chat. Was there anything that we needed to cover from those that wasn't answered in chat?
Actually, I wasn't looking at the chat, so.
No, that's fine. I was thinking maybe someone who had asked a question could say, no, I didn't get enough of an answer.
So the question was, why labels instead of annotations? And I think the answer was, well, you could have, if you need annotations, use that. And I think that was sort of not really the question. The question is that I've seen this question come up a few times in different design discussions, which is, well, should we use labels or should we use annotations? And I think it would be helpful for everyone, if you have some comment on it, to understand why you picked one versus the other.
Hey, Bob, this is Brian. The reason for labels in this particular case is to facilitate use with the scheduling constraint mechanisms that exist, such as node selector and the new node affinity and anti-affinity constraints.
Are there concerns with having that many labels? Because my understanding is the big difference here is that labels are indexed and you can write queries against them versus annotations, which are more free form. And so, I mean, as we're looking at scaling up and the amount of load on etcd, I just worry, How many labels are we adding on a node by default?
Yes, I would recommend not adding a gazillion labels by default. And in general, my recommendation would be only add the ones you actually think you need. So this is a component, in its own repo, and I haven't looked at it that carefully, to be honest, but this did come up in a number of discussions. And yes, my recommendation would be to create a white list filter mechanism so that you actually only get the labels you want. Any additional labels that get added to the nodes are effectively a liability for the operator, because users will find creative ways to use them, and once users start using them, there are backward compatibility concerns with the labels. They effectively become sort of part of the expected environment, analogous to the API itself. So, I still think there is work to be done to figure out, what kinds of, how we want to curate the labels and what sort of guarantees people want to make about them for their own environments.
So this is Balaji here. So whitelisting of labels is in our roadmap, and we'll probably be implementing it in the near future for exactly this reasons, for enabling users to exactly decorate the node with whatever label they want.
So one idea that may make sense here is to put all the information that you're discovering into an annotation, because that's useful for debugging and logging and just knowing what the heck's going on. And then having, so Tim is saying no. But then having a way of selecting out of one big annotation sort of what parts you want to hoist into labels.
Sure. So you can actually,
why do you say no real quick before, because as I said that you yelled no, or at least there's an exclamation point?
I don't know, I think is Daniel and Brian and Clayton et al. Ready to discuss that stuff? Because it seems like there's a lot of issues with annotations, and I don't really want to go into it right now, but we could have an offline discussion regarding it.
Or is this a topic for another meeting where we just discuss annotations and labels?
I don't know. I mean, it's more of a topic for Node or I don't know, potentially one of the other SIGs. But there's a lot of data that you may need for debugging nodes. We're not going to shove all that stuff in the API anyway. My recommendation would be that this agent just actually log all the information. And there are a gazillion logs you need to collect from nodes in order to tell what was going on. So, until we sort of have a stronger case for having more information in the API, my inclination would be to have less as opposed to more.
So to answer your first question about looking at what labels are being published, you can run the discovery software in a dry run mode, and you can just use something like kubectl logs and look at what labels are actually being discovered, and later on when we add the whitelisting, it should be you can choose what labels are supposed to be advertised.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Sounds like further discussions in SIG scheduling, which is where Connor and Balaj spend their time, as well as seeing where this all develops. Thank you for the demo very much. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, one more final plug, which is, so we're an incubator project and we need evidence of usership to graduate. So if you try it out, please give us feedback, especially if you start using it in your clusters. We have a wiki page where you can just mention hey, I'm using this, and we can use that when we go to make our case for becoming a real project.
Everybody trying to get all grown up. It's all awesome. It's an excellent point, because that is part of the idea of incubator, is to make sure that we are building the right things and that people start engaging with the community and using it and offering user feedback, and then it can graduate to become a Kubernetes project. So thank you for that reminder. All right, up next we have a update from SIG Cluster Lifecycle. Ilya, you were going to tell us a little bit of what was going on there. Except we don't have audio for you. Aha, please hold, we will do this in mime.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Yeah, just a quick one. Yeah, we had been pretty busy at SIG Cluster Lifecycle. We have released KubeADM along with 1.40 release of Kubernetes. It's technically in the 1.5 release window, but the binaries are released along the side, and it's targeting 1.4. Yeah, thanks to all the members for their hard work, and we managed to make this on time for 1.4 release, and many users tested it and reported bugs, and I really would like to thank all the users who reported these early alpha bugs. This is really important, and we've been busy fixing those bugs, and we're hoping to cut another release of snapshot release of KubeADM in the coming days. And yeah, we really appreciate some help. If people want to join us on SIG Cluster Lifecycle on Slack and just stay up to date or like to contribute, please talk to us. Thanks.
Is there any specific work targeted for the 1.5 time cycle other than bug fixes?
Well, there will be a lot of bug fixes. We're currently prioritizing the features that we want to put in.
Okay.
And proposals around improving things like introducing kubelet API potentially is one of the things on the table right now. So yeah, there's more to be discussed. We are quite busy working on this as we speak. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, as you may know, the features repo, which we'll hear a little bit more about, closed for the 1.5 feature planning. Or at least the feature proposal space. So we'll talk more about that in the releases section. And this may be separate because SIG Cluster or Kubelet is a standalone piece. So thank you, Ilya, and everybody can find SIG Cluster Lifecycle on the community meeting calendar and Slack and email lists and all the usual ways. Going on to releases, we have a super short update from 1.4. Jessie was not able to join us this morning, but she wanted everybody to note that we cut the 1.4.2 beta and would like testers. So if anybody is playing with things today, please try and play with the 1.4.2 beta. She's looking to cut the 1.4.2 point release tomorrow, Friday. So any feedback on the beta would be very helpful today. With that, we can go on to 1.5 work, and Saad and Caleb, which I get to start by introducing the fact that Saad is our release czar for 1.5, and Caleb, during the retrospective meeting for 1.4, agreed to be Saad's right-hand person to help us find all the places where the release czar work still gets mired in being or more closely associated with Google than we want it to be. So we now have a two-headed, I'm going to say monster, but forgive me. We have a two-headed release czar that is helping us. So Saad being the lead and Caleb stepping up to do as much as he can from the outside and help us find all those places where help from community members is harder. So Saad, do you want to talk about, you had a proposal.
Yeah, so the proposal, one of the goals that we want to have is after code freeze, let's not have planned code changes. That's obvious for features, but it's not been so obvious for bugs. And in the past, we've seen folks try to sneak in codes as planned bugs. Basically, if you didn't finish something, you create a bug and you say, we're gonna work on this afterwards. So let's not do that this time around. One of our goals is to try to burn down the bugs list as quickly as possible after code freeze. So the proposal here is that immediately after bug freeze, we want to scrub all the P0 bugs as soon as possible. And we'd like to ask a one-day SLA for owners for P0 bugs to at least take a look after feature freeze to see what's going on. This includes flakes and non-flakes. And within 3 days, we'd love to get acknowledgement that this bug has been looked at and has been triaged, and whether it is or is not a release blocker. And if we can get that, I think that'll make our lives a lot easier. I know Caleb has agreed to try to keep track of all the P0, P1 bug flakes and whether they're blocking or not, trying to get the separate the signal from the noise, because it is a very important signal to figure out whether the release will go forward or not. Any suggestions, comments?
Silence is assent.
Okay, so you used the phrase feature freeze there. I was curious if you could define the difference between feature freeze and code freeze. I guess I was sort of under the impression that there was like a deadline for everybody to get their like features into the feature repo. That was maybe Monday.
That was Monday.
Okay, so is that the feature freeze you're talking about, or are you talking about code?
Code freeze. I should have spoken more carefully. Code freeze is November 7th. That is the last date that the code for your feature should be merged by.
Okay.
And at that point, let me explain a bit situation about this feature freeze and code freeze. So unfortunately, we had this a bit async regarding these two freezes. So we are going to sync with Caleb and SAD regarding these two stages. I also had provided some suggestions to some PRs to our Kubernetes community and Kubernetes feature repo with 1.5 roadmap. So we are going to describe these features, this specific feature phrase also in our official documentation. So sorry for this confusion, but we're going to improve all this stuff and not to be unsynchronized in all these activities.
No, that's totally cool. So the reason I was asking about the feature freeze thing, I apologize that I wasn't able to attend the retrospective last time, but if we think we now have sort of gated what's in the features repo, now would be a great time to start drafting the release notes for Kubernetes 1.5 from a product and feature owner perspective. While the code is still ongoing, that whole high-level summary that I did, like during the burn down as we were trying to cut bits, is something that could absolutely happen now if we have frozen features.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. So the next item in our agenda is describing our today's feature scrub meeting, where we have defined all the features. So we may continue listening what Seth and Cal will provide for us, and we'll continue discussing the features later.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, that's a great idea to get started early, especially considering the features are now frozen. So.
Right.
Only other thing I'd like to add is we're planning to cut an alpha release of 1.5 today. There was a very early alpha release that went out on September 1st. We try to do releases every 2 weeks, but they've been blocked on a bad build. So hopefully we can get that out today, second alpha release. And then that is all for the release for 1.5.
Awesome. I have one more thing, just sort of as a side note, coming out of the retrospective meeting, which, Aaron, I'm sorry you missed it, but I get to plug that it is available on YouTube, as well as there are notes that were published in that as well. But in that retrospective, one of the things that was suggested was anyone who has an open bug or an open feature during the feature or during code freeze is asked to attend the burn down meetings to make sure the status is given. So it's kind of the complement to your one-day turnaround. So if you have something that is still open, you're asked to participate in the burn down meeting just to make sure that we know exactly where the status is as we're going into release. So that's another bit of making sure that we have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. All right, anything else? Caleb, I think you're on the line as well. Did you have anything that you wanted to say about the 1.5 release before we jump to features?
No, I didn't have anything.
Okay, sweet. Just wanted to check. Fantastic. Ihor, do you want to talk about the feature freeze from Monday and what's going on there?
Yeah, so today, if you, like half an hour before we have started this meeting, we have finished our previous meeting that was initiated by product management group regarding the features that are going to be included into 1.5 release. So we have prescribed all the features in GitHub repo that are marked with milestone 1.5 and defining their actual status and so on. So at the current moment, we have this something like draft information, because we have to provide also some more details into the GitHub issues regarding this repo. So at the current moment, we have 55 features that are going to be added in the new release, into 1.5 release. That doesn't mean that all the features are absolutely brand new. Some of these features were released in the previous Kubernetes versions as an alpha or beta state. So in this release, we're expecting to see them in like more stable state, like in beta or generally available. So, and also I'm going to, again, so as I did it before 1.4 release, I'm going to collect all these features into the spreadsheet where everyone may take a look at them and just look into like user-friendly form for all the features that are going to be added into release. And as Aaron has suggested, it's a really good time for starting preparing the release notes. So this spreadsheet is like the column with the release notes mentioned. So I'm asking every feature owner to provide a few lines about that, what this feature is about and what you see in the release notes about your feature. And possibly, I hope that we may start collaborating with Aaron right now regarding creating the release notes, generating them from that stuff that we have at the moment.
Ihor, do you know if in the feature template is a release note checkbox? Just off the top of your head? Because if there isn't, it should be.
There is already in the main repo.
Yep. Okay.
There needs to be some automation to automatically set labels on the on PRs.
Yep.
If someone is interested in helping with that, please email the Contributor Experience Working Group.
Sweet. Okay. Oh, there are so many fun little places people can help contribute. All right. Anything more about features? Any questions about features for 1.5? Okay. Then I will move on to Kubecon. So there is a whole lot of stuff going on that week, the week of the 10/9, 8th of November in Seattle. OpenShift is having a Monday workshop on Monday, oddly enough. And then the Kubecon is Tuesday and Wednesday. There is the Kubernetes Developer Summit on Thursday, which invites went out for last night. We have a few people on the wait list, but for the most part, everyone who is interested, everyone who has expressed interest to date and or people who were, shall we say, volunteered because other people wanted to make sure they had conversations with them, should be able to get invites over the next couple of weeks. We're getting a couple of no thank yous today, and so the wait list, I suspect, will clear with those no RSVPs. So my suspicion is everyone who has already expressed interest in going, or people who were requested to attend by other groups have had invites and are likely to be able to attend. Travel costs aside, so those invites have gone up. The schedule will go up in the next week or so of the formalized topics that are going to be covered at the Dev Summit. Those are topics for discussion. They're not going to be presentations. So the idea is here's a topic and then we'll have some sort of conversation about it in a room. There's also going to be a fair bit of open space available in the Dev Summit area so that people can peel off and have smaller discussions, smaller groups, decide things on the spot that they need to continue a conversation or take a conversation in a different direction. So we will have more about the logistics of that for Thursday in the next week to 2 weeks published. But those of you who have invites should please RSVP so that the few of you that are on wait lists can get rolled in. And if there's anyone that someone thinks that we have missed as you talk to people about your attendance and what you're planning to do there, please let me know. We have a little bit of slush space, which is awesome. Ihor, you are helping us cat herd the special interest group face-to-faces. So you want to talk about that?
Yes, so I have faced the question, the problem, and not me personally, but also some people from community, and we have discussed it, for example, with Michelle, who is leading SIG apps, that there is no structured information in the general availability regarding the schedule of SIG meetings, of SIG face-to-face meetings during Kubecon. Because some of the SIGs have scheduled their meetings privately in their mailing list. At the same time, it's not so easy for people from the outside to schedule their time, schedule their logistics during Kubecon, and to define the best place to visit. So I prepared this brief spreadsheet where I'm asking all the SIG leads or like responsible SIG people to fill it with the actual data regarding the date and time where your Kubecon face-to-face meeting is going to happen. Also, if you don't know exact time, you might take a look at like different SIGs and just to find a free slot when you'll be able to run that SIG meeting.
The team at the Linux Foundation has also agreed to help us find space for these over the course of the week. So I don't know that they knew quite what they were getting into when they said that they would help us, but we will do our best with them to find space. And as I said, on Thursday, there may be a little bit of space as well. So if you as a SIG lead or as a SIG run into a challenge finding space to have this meeting, please feel free to reach out to me and Cameron, and he and I can help facilitate either with the Linux Foundation events people or directly with the hotel around all of this. So know that you have resources. Don't hesitate to ask. Does anybody have questions about Kubecon, the Kubernetes Developer Summit, or the SIG face-to-faces that are happening around that?
I think there was a lottery around the Kubecon topics. Has that actually closed? Do we know what the final topic list is going to be, or are we still sorting that out?
The topic list, so the lottery has closed, the topic list is set, we are putting it into a schedule, and it should go out in the next week.
Okay, thanks.
If you want the short summary, I can read it out. It's just not pretty yet.
I'm fine waiting. I just wanted to make sure that that's still going on, or I hadn't missed that.
No, you haven't missed that notice. There are going to be 12 formal topics. Then there are going to also be 6 small sessions, small rooms that are unscheduled for sessions. So 12 scheduled formal topics, 6 unscheduled small rooms, not all in parallel, just for the record, but this is over the course of the day. 6 smaller rooms that have unscheduled time, and then after we do some sort of closing wrap-up keynote, there's going to be a happy hour, and all of the rooms will be available for people to have whatever discussions for another hour, hour and a half. So there should be a lot of nice, clean, unstructured space, as well as these specific 12 topics. Sort of the unconference or the semi-unconference is, we can make up a whole new name for it, but you know. Any other people with questions about all of this? I can't believe we've been that articulate, but thank you. All right. Let's see. Next thing on the agenda. I have nothing further on the agenda. Does anyone have any notices or upcoming things? I've been working all things toward Kubecon. Anyone else have anything we want to talk about? All right, so 1.5 features from SIGs. I will be reaching out to SIG leads more for next week because we need to get a little more visibility and a little more what are all the different SIGs doing. And so I'll get more SIGs on next week. Thank you all. Have a great, yeah, enjoy the extra 10 minutes. Exactly, Brandon. I give you the gift of time. Have a great week, and I'll see you all next week.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.